Hello, everybody. Well, tonight is the night. The Women's Prize for Fiction winner is announced. Of course, we've been looking at the six books over the past week, looking at which books we would like to win, of course, and we all have our own personal favourites, I think. But today we're joined by Liv from the Windsor Homeless Project. Hi, Liv.
Hi, nice to see you.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
And we're going to be talking about the shortlist, and we're going to be looking at some of the previous winners, because of course this year is the 25th anniversary of Women's Prize. So I think just before we start looking at the books, Liv, could you just tell us a little bit about the Windsor Homeless Project and how you're involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, I'm Liv Dixon and I'm the Assistant Manager for the Windsor Homeless Project. And we're a local charity in our community, and we exist to help people in the local community who are either experiencing homelessness or vulnerable in another way to rebuild their lives. And we do that through a mixture of immediate support and long-term support through our model, which is all about engaging, empowering and rebuilding. So we have a drop-in day centre, which is currently open 4 times a week, and we welcome anyone to come down, whether you're experiencing homelessness or not. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that's great too. And when someone comes into the project, they're offered a delicious lunch, which is cooked by either one of our volunteers or one of the amazing pubs and restaurants in our local area who donate it to us, which is fantastic. And then we just offer conversation and companionship and just a sense of local community. And then we can start to offer sort of short-term support and advocacy depending on what the individual needs. So that might be accessing the council to report as homeless, to accessing benefits, to setting up a bank account, to accessing the NHS, their GP, or obtaining ID, for example. And then longer term, we start to work with individuals to set up an individual plan for them in terms of rebuilding their lives. So that might include counselling, working with the drug and alcohol service, or accessing rehab, or debt management, accessing training through the local college, and just helping guide our guests through big transitions. So for example, moving into their first home that they've lived in for a while. So to do that, we work with organisations throughout the local community. So that might be the council or local charities and services. And we're just all about giving the best possible support to our individuals. So we want to be seen as sort of a community hub where anyone can come down and access the support that they need. So that's who we are.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
I was going to say that obviously a lot of that, it relies on volunteers. Do you actively seek volunteers, or do you have a lot of people already helping you, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a fantastic group of volunteers who come down and give a whole load of their time, which we're so grateful for.
Brilliant.
But throughout COVID, we have lost a few of those just because they've had to self-isolate, or they've been working from home and they've had different responsibilities. So yeah, if you're interested in volunteering, do give us a bell, and we'd love to hear from you and have you down to the project. That'd be fantastic. And also, if you've got sort of a specific skill that you think that we could need, that could be sort of anything that you think that you've got that our charity could need, then yeah, get in touch as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, the work at the Windsor Homeless Project is absolutely fantastic, and we'll make sure we'll get your contact details in the comments. So if anybody would like to volunteer, then they can contact Liv to find out a little bit more. I just thought I'd ask, how has COVID affected the project? Has it had any sort of has it had a big impact on it?
Yeah, it impacted us hugely at the beginning. So we did actually have to shut down the day centre for a while during the sort of the lockdown period, which was, that was a tricky time. So we wanted to continue our support during that time. So we did a lot of phone calls. We did a lot of cooking in house, and then dropping food to people who wouldn't be able to go out and access food to the shops, that sort of things. Most of our guests have been brought into temporary accommodation during this time due to the government's everyone in policy. So for the majority of the individuals accessing the property, they do now have access to a room where they can go and live and self-isolate if they needed to. So which has been a huge step forward, and we want to make sure that we keep that going and make sure that people are moving on from that temporary accommodation, if that's a B&B in the local community, for example, rather than moving back to being homeless and back on the streets. So it's definitely given us some challenges, but it's also given us some opportunities, which is exciting.
Yeah. It's heartening to hear you say that, Liv.
Yeah, absolutely, definite. Really, really sound project. Absolutely brilliant. And thank you for talking to us about it. You know, hoping that all the residents that are listening to this can, you know, really gain really good coverage for you, information on that. It's fantastic.
Well,
so as Dan mentioned earlier, going back to the prize, it's been going for 25 years, which is quite amazing. And I know within the office we were having a look back at all the previous books, and we said to you, would you please choose one of the winners, whichever one you fancy. So which one did you choose? And tell us a little bit about what you picked up and if you liked it.
So I chose On Beauty by Zadie Smith, which I've read Zadie Smith before. I read White Teeth and I absolutely loved it. So when I saw that this was on the list, and it was actually on my bookshelf, but I haven't managed to get through it yet. So I thought it was a great opportunity to pick it up and start reading. And I absolutely loved it. I recommend On Beauty to everyone. I think it's such a brilliant book and so well written. So I absolutely loved it. It's a story about two sort of feuding families, which is mainly set in the northeast of America in a college town, but also some bits in North London. And with what is so brilliant about this book is how immersive it is. So right from the very beginning, right from the first chapter, I really felt that I was in these people's lives and learning all about them and their character and what drives them and how they relate and what their love is based on. So really, really brilliant. And just such a great mixture of quite heavy topics, but also really witty and funny and lighthearted along the way as well. So would recommend it to a lot of people.
I mean, I do also like Zadie Smith. I think she's a brilliant author and I've read all her books. And as you said, the characters, they're so quite tragic, a lot of them, but she's got that real witty form of writing as well, hasn't she? Really, really fantastic. And lovely family stories as well. It's always about the in-depth families, isn't it? And different cultures and different families. And I think she's a brilliant writer. And at that time, I don't remember her winning that, but a well-deserved win, I think, at that time. Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say about the characters, so Zadie Smith in this book is very cleverly takes us through each of the characters and in a very organic way. It doesn't feel sort of forced at all. We sort of become in, the story is told from the perspective of the different characters as we go along, and so we get to learn all about them and about their motivations. And as you say, there are a couple of tragic characters that there's one particular sort of villain in the piece that I thought at the beginning I was never going to get to like, and then suddenly you learn a bit about his backstory and about where he came from, and he has a conversation with his father, and suddenly you get this rush of empathy for this person that you just wouldn't think you would like. So very clever in that way.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I mean, so you picked a really good one there. As I said, she's an absolutely superb author. I also had a look actually and just had a quick flick through the list and seen my favourite book is on there, Half of Yellow Sun. That was one of the winners once, which I absolutely love this author. So that's set in the 1960s in Nigeria. Absolutely superb author, really well written, and I could just read this book again and again and again. So I thought that was a very good winner. A couple more there, really controversial at the time. We need to talk about Kevin. I don't know if any of you viewers or listeners have been reading that. Was also a film as well about a woman whose son turns into a serial killer and does a mass shooting, and the book's letters to her husband. We need to talk about Kevin. When did we see this happening? You know, was it me? Was it him? Really, really interesting. Great one. And I just picked the other one I picked up was Rose Tremaine, another one of my favourite authors. The Road Home, again, about displacement, immigration, and actually a very current story for now, actually, with the refugees and in recent years that's been happening. Really beautifully written story. And actually, when I look across them all, and I don't know if you agree, the two of you, all the titles, they all have that very strong characters, very strong stories. You can see why they're winners, I think. I mean, I think this prize produces amazing winners. I really do.
I agree, but I've actually only read one book from the previous 24 winners, which was Naomi Alderman's The Power. I don't know if any of you have read that, but that was a fantastic book. Shines a light on inequality between men and women, and it came sort of just as the Me Too movement was starting to, to move on. But that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. The premise is women can produce electricity from their fingertips. So you know, you have a world where men are almost frightened, terrified of women. It's fantastic read, very, very shocking.
I don't read that. That's really good.
But really good.
Like that. Yeah, there's so much to read. So going on to this year's shortlist then. So what do you reckon then, Dan? Who do you think's gonna win? Well, maybe if you should we just quickly whiz through the 6 books?
Yeah. Well, I think it's this year, it's a stiff competition this year. You've got Hilary Mantel. I think most times you would probably put your money on her to win. Yeah, you need some serious muscles to be able to flick through it. But I think Mantel is usually a safe bet. But of course, we've got Bernardine Evaristo's Girl, Woman, Other, which I know you read, Jeanette.
Yeah, right. And I know it's on your next list to read. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this book. Basically, it is, I would describe it as what it's like to be a woman in Britain in the 21st century, and that's what it's all about. Really, really interesting characters. And for me, I just thought it was awesome. Absolutely love this book. I know that it was the winner of the Booker, wasn't it, last year with Margaret Atwood? So
it was a bit controversial, I thought, having a joint winner.
Yeah. Do you want a joint winner? What do you think of that? A joint winner, Liv? Do we want a joint winner or a single winner?
I don't know. I think yeah, sub one is nice. Let's have a
Yeah, I just felt it was very convenient. It seemed very convenient because Atwood obviously had returned with the sequel to Handmaid's Tale, but I think Evaristo perhaps should have taken the credit for herself. Yeah, so I think it's hard to call, and I think you've got Maggie O'Farrell's Hamnet as well, which is the book I read. I absolutely adored that book. I'm not ashamed to say it made me cry. In fact, the prose style is absolutely wonderful. It's poetic. The characters that we know about, you know, Anne Hathaway, and Hamlet himself, Shakespeare's son. People know about these characters from history, but we don't really know about them. So what Farrell did, which I thought was really good, she fleshed them out. She made them come alive. Absolutely extraordinary book. I absolutely loved it. Which other book did you read, Jeanette?
So also I read Dominicana, Angie Crew.
Oh, of course.
Kind of like, I really enjoyed this one as well, actually. It's really an American dream story about a family who live in the Dominican Republic, and this young girl marries an older guy in order to get to New York. It's set in the 1950s, and then in order to eventually bring her family over. And it's quite a sad story, you know. She just suffers, she is abandoned, she is on her own, she's up in this high rise looking out while they all go about their work, and it's a story of suffering. But the really interesting thing about this book, which I did really enjoy, even though I don't think it's going to win, I did enjoy, is that it's actually based on her mother's life. And in the foreword, it says that she said to her mum, "I'm going to write a story about your life." And her mum said, "Don't write about my life. My life was just a boring life." And that's what's so interesting, isn't it? How you can make such brilliant literature out of a life. But it literally just tells the story of people going to New York and trying to live that American dream. So did really, really, really enjoy this book. I don't know why it's in the shortlist, this book. I did really enjoy it. I don't think it's up as something like Hamnet, which I agree with you, Dan, is so written. But maybe it's because it's current. Maybe, you know, you know, at the moment with everything that's happening, it still would definitely recommend it. Now, I know you read Weather, Dan, didn't you?
I did, which conveniently I also have right beside me. Yeah, Weather was a good book. I enjoyed it. It's very well written. It's written by Jenny Offill. She's a very good writer, but it's presented as a sort of a series of fragmented observations, fairly mundane observations. But the gist of the story is that she's taken up this job answering emails for a public speaker and a podcaster, and she starts getting all these emails about ecological disasters and climate. So as much as it's about her life and her struggles in, you know, in everyday life, it's also touching on the climate, and it's not very preachy, which is I think is a good thing. You don't get whacked over the head with climate change and things like that. It's very, very subtle, nuanced. So it was a good book. I enjoyed it, but I'm not sure it's. I just think there are so many other fantastic books in this shortlist. The Mantels, the O'Farrells. I'm just not sure if it's up to winning, but I enjoyed it all the same.
And then we haven't mentioned 1,000 Ships, so that is the other one that's up there with Big Runner. Now, I haven't read this one, but I do know one of our colleagues has read it, and she said it's absolutely superb. I think, as I understand, if you're into Greek stories, this is the women told from the women's point of view, isn't it? This story is a story war, and you know what it was like for the women, as are all these books, which I love because they're all from the women's point of view as well, for the Women's Prize. And
that's very in vogue at the moment, sort of. Yes. Reimagining, or not reimagining, but mythology told from the perspective of a woman. We had Pat Barker's Silence of the Girls, which was also brilliant,
there, isn't there, at the moment? So I think the list that we've just skimmed through, yeah, they're all absolutely what's happening now. I mean, you've got your Hilary Mantel, the third one in that, you know, amazing trilogy she's written, and in line with, you know, Hamnet, and then you've got Girl, Woman, Other. I think it's a fantastic list there. I know I was talking earlier on, Liv, which one who would you like to be the winner for the night? Which one sort of appeals to you the most?
Yeah, so I was saying I haven't managed to get reading of those yet, but I'm excited to get through all of those because they sound great. The one that's I've downloaded first on my Kindle is Girl, Woman, Other, because I've heard some brilliant things about that from friends who've read it, and they said it was just a really great novel. So I'm excited to read that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
And how about you, Dan? Is there another one you're going to go for, or wait and see who's the winner?
It's just what another book, a book I might read.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm not. I don't actually know. I don't think so. I think 1,000 Ships is possibly the only other book on that list that I would typically read.
Yeah.
But there has been so much talk about Girl, Woman, Other. But I am quite curious, and I think didn't you describe it as one of the best books you've ever read?
Me, yeah, I thought it was amazing. I just couldn't put it down. I just kind of really I've always lived in Britain. I've been brought up in Britain, and just to know that all these things have been going on around me that I actually haven't been aware of. Yes, I am aware, of course, of racism, but to learn through a character that you meet and you love, and you go through their life and to discover how this has affected them. I've just found it absolutely fascinating, and a lot of it's set in London. I love London. I'm always nostalgic about London, so I liked that. That really kept my attention, and the way that it's put together. Each chapter is a woman's name, and all the characters intermix with each other. It's been really interesting to see who is going to be that winner on Wednesday night. I can't wait to see.
I can't wait.
And actually, I was going to say, if anybody kind of wants a reminder, of course, this week we've posted a video and we've interviewed everybody now. So by the time you're watching this, you would have seen them all. Quite nice little reminders. Like I know Kate absolutely loved Hamnet, didn't she? And she described it so well of some of the scenes. So it's quite nice to flip back through the videos and look and see what people thought, because obviously everyone has different opinions, of course. That's the great thing about reading, but they're quite nice reminders of the shortlist, aren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, so far, based on what people have said on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, it seems to be Mantel is everybody's favourite. So it'll be interesting to see if that's how it plays out on the night.
Very much. So, well, thank you ever so much, Liv, for joining in, reading one of the 25th anniversary winners. And I know it sounds like you're going to read, well, hopefully the winner. We'll have to see. But thank you ever so much for engaging with us in joining the project. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a great time to meet people within the community and to...
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for having me.
Not at all.
Thanks very much. And we're waiting. We'll see who the winner's going to be on Wednesday night. So thanks everyone for joining us this evening. That was really, really interesting. And thank you to Liv from the Windsor Homeless Project. I'm just saying to Dan, we've really enjoyed interviewing our 6 ladies and discussing the shortlist books. It's been so interesting, firstly, to learn about their community project. And secondly, of course, to learn about the books. So we really want people to vote, don't we, Dan? Think about who their winner's going to be.
Absolutely. So please do let us know in the comments who you think should win this year's Women's Prize for Fiction. It's it's a tight call this year for sure.
Absolutely.
I know who I want. Let us know who you want.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for joining us, and we've really enjoyed it. Thank you.